it's a vibrational thing. And so it is. It's not just a color. It's a sound too. It's an entity of sorts. It's an entity. It's a reality. It's a world. In fact, it's a world. Remember, it's a blend of blue and red. And then we have blood and sky. So you see immediately that the combination of those fields is very significant. Blue and red, heaven and earth, interesting vibration. so, and so not too many people that I know, well, it's a very popular color, not too many people understand how powerful a color it is. And so I think the kind of intensity that it is has a correspondence to the way that I play, so it's more abstract. It's a psychic relationship to the vibration of purple, whereas I can play that without wearing the color. You have a lot of people wear the color without knowing what it is or arrive at the vibration that it corresponds to. So we can like the color, but not understand it or know it. See, we can like religion and have no understanding of the basis of it. So people will mask themselves in religion, but have no understanding of what it's about. You know what I mean? People often say, I have no technique but truth. Yes. Just as I said, I play the truth. I play the truth. I play exactly how I feel. What I play is what is true for me. It's my truth. For truth. It is for truth. It is absolutely for truth. And that's what I play. When you hear me play, you know me, the more you spend time with me as an individual, so to speak, or sharing, and you hear the music, you say, no, that's you, man. That's you. Say, that's this bad character or this wacko or whatever it is. Some people would say that's off the wall cat, Say, no, that's for true. This is his mind working. That's why it was important for me to write these books that more or less capture the vastness of the information I've been given. Not that I think, but that I'm given and that I must share with other people in some form or other. And for the most part of my life, I had no burden such as writing. And I'm not a writer, but I had to be responsible, for what was being given, what I was hearing. And so that was the best way to share it, is to document it. It was that important. And when I documented it and saw some feedback from the few that I'm close to, they said, well, we're so glad you wrote that, because they said, we've been hearing you speak for years and we never documented any of it. Now that we documented it, we have it on paper, we're getting a lot more out of you. We're becoming a lot more aware, because we're starting to realize what you're saying is true for you and ultimately true for us. So, okay, so there you have it. That's what I mean. That's my technique, is to play what is true. That's first. How would you describe it? True. It's true. Pure. Yeah. Pure. In terms of idiom, I would have to say, that's what they call it. That's a bag. That's a box they put it in. That sometimes speaks more to dissonance and protestative stuff against certain conventional forms, whatever they might be. But what I play is a little bit of all of it. It's its own cosmologic expression. It's Tisziji music. It's simply Anami music. It's nameless. It's what is true for me, which is its own school. That's it. I am my own school. Sure, I can lend myself, as I just did, to a folk school, a semi-classical school, almost a little bit, depending on how I pick it, a little flamenco school, or blues. I can play a blues groove. We can get into that. If I had time to do that, I'll show you what that is, and show you that I am everything and nothing in particular, except being true in that moment. See, being true. So I play blues, play classical. You heard me play some earlier, before the tape. I play jazz, I play my own things, and a little bit of everything. So I have this kind of understanding. And just as you read in the books, it's like, ooh, this is not a beginner's mind here, this is a deeper mind. Oh yes, musically, that's what I was first. Before I started having any thoughts about what I was doing, I understood these things. I could hear all this stuff first as a child, because I didn't have any ego when I was that young. It's just, I was in the street. I was being primordial consciousness as a child, so I'd be playing stuff, and they said, well, don't play. Do you think that ego gets in the way of a lot of musicians? I think to have started before the ego is formed is to my advantage, so I'm totally uninhibited. I don't know what's true for anybody else. I just know what's true for me. And you see, so it keeps it like that real. Now, as I get into the music world of mankind, then I'm learning a whole different way of doing things. Then it's a reductionistic view. Everything has to be reduced to more finite stuff. I'm out of the cosmic coming into the human, which is a different field or a different band of consciousness. It's smaller. See, I come from the huge, like the mountains, and I'm coming down now to the little boxes, the little mind forms, the sound bite universe. And it's just as sacred as anything else. And I want to say classical music is great music for great minds, to say that. But it all comes from where I am, because I too have the potential of being a great classical musician once I assume responsibility for that structuring at the level of a classical musician or a symphonic musician. Because we're just talking layers then. Right? So I'd have to learn and adapt my intelligence to that, to the degree where I bring that up to my level. And I say, okay, I learned all the basics there, I learned the language, now this is what I'm going to say with it. This is my vision of the universe. Now make sure you got your helmets on, your boots, your asbestos prevention suits, your flammable, what do they call that? Your flame preventing, right? Fire prevention suits, flame retardant suits. Put it all on because here it is, whatever it is. See, and then on the other hand, the folk musician is still there. The child is always there. So beauty is always going to be an important part, no matter how ferocious the music might need to be for that function of the music. Yes, correct. You said the music is the cart, not the horse. Well, the cart, yes, the horse drives it. Spirit drives the music. Spirit should be first. The form, that is the formlessness, is the source of the music. The heart is the source of the music. So that music should follow the heart, basically, right? Rather than other things. That's my preference. Is that it follows the heart and what the heart dictates rather than the grind, which is what a lot of music is all about the grind. It's designed to attract females or males, depending, and keep them postured or positioned where they can be used by the musician and by others in the field of music. And that's what it's designed and created to do, impress the opposite sex and keep them. So then it's used to perpetuate slavery and keep people prisoners, whether it's used for business, sex, or whatever it is. All that is it. It's designed for personal gain. It's not used for spirit, except, in my case that I know of. And this is what I keep trying to tell the musicians. It's good to do it. We can use music that way. You can use your body that way. You can use your mind that way. But that may not be the ultimate use of those things. And so here it's like heart first. Make sure it counts. Make sure your heart is bleeding in the process, so that you feel that it's there, so that anytime you hear that back, you get that same kind of, To me, that's beauty. Rather than just a bunch of noise, that's easy for anybody to imitate and play just for the sake of its commercial or popular value, and so on, But, what do people expect when they come to your concert? Well, in the past, they could expect a very intense psychic force field and very out music, so to speak, very open music. Now in the future, they can expect a little bit of that and maybe more structure-centered music, which is what I'm committed to doing now. And working more with what I would recognize as beautiful hard forms of music and some abstract stuff. So certainly I'll be open to crystallizing some of my more dissonant concepts and making them more soundbite forms that people can appreciate for what they are. Yes. Can your sound be compared to any of your contemporaries? Oh, I'm sure I have no concept of what my contemporaries do because I don't listen to any of that stuff. I don't listen to any of that stuff. You don't listen to any other musicians? No, I don't. Not even the players that I play with. I don't listen to any of the music. That's a fact. Don't. Well, for the same reason you heard me just sit here and play. I think that, well, because I think that the purpose of listening to other musicians outside of a certain kind of social purpose or, function, or regarding them in a certain way, if I reach a point where it's appropriate for me, now that I'm becoming a man in the world, to go up and show up at certain places. I go there, that's a social function. I'm not going there to learn anything. So I go there because it's a socially acceptable, appropriate thing to do, because then it becomes politically correct to do that. So when it becomes politically correct, I will do that. But it has never been creatively necessary for me to do it. So until it becomes that, that's what it is. When it's creatively necessary, I do it. People say, Tisziji, even in this area, I mean, I've seen it clubs, so I'm too busy. I don't think my thing is that good where I have the time off. I can take time off and go out there, hang out, listen to somebody else doing that thing. I can't rest on my laurels to that degree yet. I ain't that good. You know, where I could just give up my thing and go hang out at a club for several hours, you know, hanging out, sucking, smoking, checking chicks out, and, you know, keeping them away from bumping up against me or being drawn to me or rubbing up against me and putting their feelings on me, you know. I said, no, when I was a kid, that was necessary. But now that I'm not even a man anymore, now that I'm more in an angelic state, that's not necessary. But now that I come back into the world, I have to put back on my man suit and see how much of any of that I need to cope with. You know, and then I'll have my musicians, I'll say, listen, hey baby, I know you dig me and you're feeling good about being next to me, but I got a bass player that needs what you got. I don't need that. What he said is, the music will things inspire people, and then the concrete and the blossom. That's sort of like what we're talking about now. I would say that the need for many of the musicians is social and ego-economic. It is not totally spiritual and definitely not absolutely creative, because a lot of them have to give up their so-called tendency towards a real spiritual healing needs for creativity to make a buck. And so I have never had to do that. I've never had to compromise with anybody, and that's been my karma. It's not even been my choice. It's been my karma. That is what has been given to me. So I've had a totally different road to walk. This is something my elders predicted would be the case, that I would be, I have to use the term they use, treated like a prince, where I'd be taken care of. But that's because I would be working furiously behind the scenes for the sake of other people. And so it's no free ride, even though I'm off the scene, it's been no free ride. And you can tell by the books that I've written that there's been a tremendous effort to make sure that everything is preserved, that is given, that is of value, musically and spiritually. Compositionally, you said that your music is very simple. Absolutely. I've even felt it was almost childish. You know, that's simple, like what you just heard. It's really simple, almost lullabic memories. I think that's the truth of the heart, to sing those simple melodies. The child's heart is a true heart. I feel that. And I think some of the most beautiful music that we can say, even in the classical domain or even show business, has a certain kind of quality to it, that the children love it and children want to sing it too. You know, I feel that is true. That is true. Then it's up to us in our experience, however harsh or tragic it is, to modify that according to the truth that we are experiencing at any point. Whether that's a blues truth or whether that's some kind of psychological truth, and you know, we have a mental truth or some kind of mental problem, then we have to colorate it. That's true for us, so then we can say, yeah, that's what I was experiencing at that time. Well, that's exactly how I looked at that time. That's how I felt. See, so we're talking about a different level of creativity, a different level of artistic expression when it comes to where I'm at, where I've been at, as opposed to musicians that are just trying to learn whatever they can from other people in school or from other musicians, and they want to know what's in and what's hip and what's happening so they can play that. They can prove themselves to be part of that. I don't have any such ideas. None whatsoever. Because I sit here, if you hear me play something that comes out of this and you know you hear it, then that's what I'll play tonight if I had to play tonight. He said, man, that came right out of the session we had today. We were right there, and he started playing that. We never heard it before. He says he never heard it before, and that's where it came from. And that's what he's elaborating on now tonight, right before you people. So it's that true. So I don't have a need to hear music if I'm already being that music. You grew up in, you're from Brooklyn, you're born in Brooklyn. Born and raised in Brooklyn, yeah. Good old Brooklyn. What do you think your first musical experience was looking back? The first thing you remember about music impacting your life? Going which direction? Well, I have to say this, it's that I was music. I was music. I think the problem, I think for a lot of people, is that my family never hooked up together, that I should have taken lessons as a prodigy, that I should have been given direction. I was just left. So I did my own thing. I just taught myself and just played on my own. I was just all by myself. That was my safety, my haven, was to be able to play to get away from all the human stuff that was going on around me, all the violence, and the ordinary stuff, the screaming, the yelling, the fighting and all that stuff. I just played. I was in my own world. So I just played till I bled and I bled and I bled. It didn't matter. I just loved playing. So that was my experience. Sure, I could hear things, and then so I recognized them. As a child, I would hear. I was very hearing centered and feeling good. You started out as a drummer. As a drummer, yes. Everything that showed up in my mind was not melody as much as because my mother would sing to me. There's a key right there. My mother sang to me all the time, and her sister was also singing. So they'd sing me these melodies, these show tunes, all kinds of show tunes that were happening at that time. I was singing, I was hearing these voices. But everything that I translated at that point was pulses right off the heart. Immediately, right off the heart, I could hear the pulses. Right? I could hear the pulses. So let's say when my mother had me on her chest and then she'd embrace somebody, you hear two hearts. You know what I mean? There's like two different beats. It's all about the beats. And that was my beginning as a human, to come in and hear pulses, hear times, and then know that time was a beginning. Only a beginning. Not the end. It's a beginning. Why the guitar now? Well, the guitar is part of my family, actually. Not that there were guitarists in the family, but I mean, when I was a child, I saw guitars. My grandfather used to repair them, or so he thought. He wasn't necessarily a guitar player, but he played at the folk level. He would play and sing a little bit here and there. And so the guitar, as I mentioned, I have my cousin's guitar here. The guitar is related to my family. I think it's related to a lot of Hispanic people in some ways. But here I had an uncle who aspired to be a guitar player, my Uncle John. And he followed Django Reinhardt around Europe during the Second World War whenever he could find him. And he thought that was the greatest guitar player. So, I have that kind of influence. An uncle who pursued this French gypsy playing. I'm Puerto Rican Afro-Spanish gypsy player. And I had injuries to impress upon me that, hey, this was about pain, and this was about escaping pain and healing pain. And so, this is my origin is totally informal, but experientially correct for me. True. It's true. Would you play more if your hand allowed you to? I would have been more of a guitar player if my hand had allowed me to. A classical guitar player, I think. I have much more complex mind. But I've understood harmony, so all the piano players that I've been with, I've been able to teach them because of my knowledge of harmony, which is natural. I never learned it anywhere. I just knew it. You can know things. It's built into us to know things. And, natural cab drivers, natural people, in all the different arts and fields, and people who feel comfortable and that they're more naturally inclined towards these things. So for me, it was music at the beginning, and that got me out of my family. I think rather than made me a part of the family, it made me a part of the life stream. It got me away from the family. Would you say you're learning every day as a musician? What's the last thing you learned? When's the last time you had something like, wow, something I didn't know? That would be hard to place. I mean, I didn't know that you and I and this thing would work as well. And it's certainly working well. I didn't know that walking through the park could become an event, So learning is ongoing, It's just like that. It's not the thing that you're learning, but how you view what is happening. That's the learning process. How you are perceiving what is going down. That's the learning process. See, rather than, a particular thing that you learn. I mean, learning that Teddy and I have a certain kind of resonance, and Tange and I have our own little reality, and you and I have our own reality. This has been a learning experience, excellent one. I've never done this before. I've never spent this much time with, people who just came in, and, we would get to know each other, and I'm able to share this. This has been a learning experience, How would my teaching go over with newcomers, total newcomers? This is something I've been doing for some time, but usually with people who are more in this lifestyle, more in the metaphysical world. But hey, we see that it's not limited to metaphysicians. This is our true nature. So here we are, creative people coming together and sharing a metaphysical dialect and applying it to what we already know as reality. So I'm not speaking an alien language whatsoever, nor do I ever feel it. It seems that way. See, as we know, we're all in resonance, in proper resonance. You read some of the book and some of the concepts in the book, even though I'm in another universe than Steve's, or coming from a whole other place, I'm another individual. I mean, you could feel that many of the things that were stated in that have universal validity and application. And so I know I'm on the right path with what I'm doing, even though it would appear that it pertains to or is relevant to very few people on Earth. It doesn't matter. It's not about quantity. It's the quality of the communication. It is the purity of the level of reality that I'm sharing and pointing to that makes all the difference in the world. Then it can be abused to others. And that to me is all this is about. Afterwards, you want to, are you comfortable talking about your military experience? Do you like to talk about that? And if it seems important, I mean, I could sum it. I don't know if it does. Yeah. The album songs. Yeah. Yeah, although being in the army band was like being in heaven. Yeah. It's just in heaven, being in heaven, yeah. But I mean, yeah, that's about as good as it gets. Yeah, the album, yeah. Oh, Divine Radiance is a new album. Yeah, that's with Paul. That's one co-produced by Paul Schaefer. Paul Schaefer's on keyboards. And we have an all-star ensemble for that particular date, including the great Pharaoh Saunders, saxophonist with John Coltrane, and John Coltrane's son, Robbie Coltrane, John Coltrane's drummer, Rashid Ali, Cecil McBee on bass, who played with Alice Coltrane, also part of that whole legacy, and Don Pate, my ongoing bass player of choice. So all of us came together to do a spectacular recording. That came together right after the 9/11 disaster hit the country and the world. A great record. I highly recommend it. And Paul Schaefer was the co-producer on it. Paul Schaefer is the co-producer and keyboard player on it. And he was really enthusiastic about getting together with this level of musical experience. With this kind of classical avant-garde team of hardcore jazz blowers. Rashid Ali, who was notorious for his avant-garde concept of drums, or like no time, no time. Same with Pharaoh, who was with Train doing that no time, no harmony level, no chords. So, and Robbie's the inheritor of that particular evolution in music, jazz music in the world. And so he has the best of all those worlds. And Don has played with me in all the avant-garde excursions I've had to take over the past 20 years. And Cecil, we know, is a magnificent bass player, just impeccable technique in that field as well as in the classical field. So we have a great ensemble there. And Paul was wise to come in on this because it's a unique date, and I don't think we could have performed that at a more powerful time than after 9/11. So the timing for it is perfect, and I'm sure there'll be an audience out there for this record, no doubt. What do you feel about being part of the Coltrane legacy nowadays? Well, I think it's, firstly an honor. It's beyond my imagination, actually, to have been drawn into that. But as it turned out, I was doing an engagement in the early 70s, and the bass player was playing with McCoy Tyner and also playing with Pharaoh Saunders at about the same time. His name was Calvin Hill. Well, his name is Calvin Hill. I assume he's still alive. And he said, "Man, you heard of Pharaoh Saunders?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I'm playing with Pharaoh Saunders because we did a business luncheon in New York." And he said, "Man, Pharaoh's got to hear you, man. You got to come down." And that was actually the same kind of thing that happened to me when I was playing in 1971 during an R&B gig. And Stanley Clarke and Lenny White came into the date that I was playing, and they took me out to play with Joe Henderson. They packed me, they helped me unplug all my stuff, and they put me in a cab and said, "You're going to play with Joe Henderson down here, down the street. You're with us down." I said, "You guys are crazy," because I didn't know who they were. And it was Stanley Clarke and Lenny White. So this is basically what had happened here. So Calvin took me down to the Vanguard, the Village Vanguard in New York City. He said, "Man, you got this." And he introduced me to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh says, "Yeah, Calvin, talk to me about it." He said, what do you play? Guitar? I says, "Yeah, I heard about that." I said, "Where's your guitar?" I said, "My guitar's in Brooklyn." So I said, "What you want me to get?" He says, "Yeah, go get your guitar, bring it up, man. I want to hear you play. I hear you like that. I want to hear you play." So I had to take a cab. I went to Brooklyn and got my stuff, brought it in, and that was the beginning of it. Although, I didn't start playing with him right away. The third time he asked me to go on the road with him was when I accepted. But that was it. I came in, And Farrell liked what he heard immediately, right after a few notes. He said, no, I want you to work with me, and that was the beginning of it. And Farrell was probably the closest individual to John Coltrane, and certainly as a saxophone player, probably the one who inherited the most directly from him, and is still looked up to as one of the greatest, most powerful of all the avant-garde jazz players on earth when he's in the mood to play that way. And at the same time, he's also one of the most beautiful ballad players when he's in the mood to play that way of all players. So, I mean, I'm very happy to have been brought into that circle and allowed to play with these very, very great musicians. Absolutely.
About being more commercial now. Did you say earlier about making some shorter that whole thing?
Yeah, my view has been that I have created or been allowed to be more part of the space worlds, and thus my music has expressed and represented that dimension of consciousness. Now that things have changed and I've completed my responsibilities to Spirit in terms of my writing function, and it seems that a bridge is being set up through Paul Schaefer and other people that you and I both know. Some possibilities are there. And so I understand the rules of the game. It's a whole different game now. Okay? I was in the cave before, playing as freely and as openly and as creatively as I wanted to. Not concerned about who got it, who didn't get it. Now I'm concerned about who gets it. Because that's the requirement at this point, is to play something that other people can get. So the requirement thus has enabled me to reconsider and reshape everything that I've done from the space world now to the time worlds. So we have to pull back on a lot of things, keep it as pure and true as possible, but pull back on a lot of the things. And I'm prepared to do that.
And
how do you do it? Well, of course, time is a factor. Layers is another factor. You know, so density is another factor. Trying to keep it simple, not superficial, but pure, simple, pure and simple.
And fans that are already turned on to what you have done, do you think they'll remain with it?
Oh, absolutely. Because I will not be doing this exclusively. It'll be more or less mixed into what I was doing in the past, but more so. Not that it will take the front seat completely, but I'll be doing more of this structure-centered music than I have done in the past, which has been more avant-garde, creative expression, and determining how much capability I had at that level of consciousness. But now it's different. This is a good time, man. We're letting the good times roll right now.
And you've been solely released on your own label for the last. Now you're working with Breakfast.
For the Divine Radiance record, with Paul Schaefer producing with me, we are going to allow Dreyfus Records to distribute this. It's an Anomaly product, but it's going to be distributed by Dreyfus Records for the next several years, and see what they do with it, and see if we can appeal through their particular agency to a wider market, a broader market. And but prior to that point, I have been doing all of my recordings on our Anomaly Music productions. Just for the record, it's all archival stuff. We never really intended that to be of any kind of commercial value. It's just been for the record. And now we're considering, what else there is to do, which means that we have to factor in the commercial value of future products.
Are you looking forward to maybe going on the road, maybe having to go to press junkets? How do you do more like this?
This is icing on the cake, really. Because the hard work is done now. Now it's a matter of taking it out to the people who need this medicine, because I see it as medicine. I see it as plain and simple, good old-fashioned medicine. May not taste good all the time, but it feels good once you get in there. I like to think, it's good for you. This is good for you. This is good for you. Because as we will demonstrate, I'll have an opportunity to demonstrate that I'm able to play all kinds of music in a certain way.
You talked about that before, that maybe because people thought you had chosen such an avant-garde form, which is free to do stuff, that maybe they didn't know how good you were at all different kinds of music. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, it seemed that I was playing non-music, and that would be a real stretch, because if you have ears and you slow down what I've been playing in the avant-garde form or whatever I play, then you hear that it's really music multiplied, music accelerated, the speed of light, and thus seemingly not music, but it is music at hyperspeed, so to speak, which sounds like, but it's You slow it down to hear the beauty of it. So it's music. As you can hear when I'm in my relaxed state, I play very sweet melodies quite instinctively and spontaneously. Yeah, and that's cool. Right? That's my heart truth. And to play that at the avant-garde level, I have to do something with it. I have to compress it and intensify it. I submit it to the fire, and thus it is. So it has been the same, but just a different level of it. And now I'm returning to an original level of my musical expression, which is pre-avant-garde. But it's really, still the same. To me, it's still the same. It's just true. That's all just true. Yeah.
You were once in a doo-wop band.
Yes, I was in a doo-wop band. Yeah, we used to sing doo-wop, man. Yeah, it was fun, man, because everybody was doing it. You have doo-wop bands on each corner, man, trying to outdo each other. Pass it by, they do wop, 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 boop, boop, bop. We'd be doing it like that. It was good. It was good time before it still we had to sing. And it took me to California for my first trip. And we got to meet people like the Beach Boys, people like that, people in different studios. And as I mentioned, we met Steve Allen briefly.
Talked about another happy and wonderful experience. You said was playing the Army Band.
The Army Band, I would say, is as good as it gets. Why? Because you lived there. And so all the best musicians at the time during the Vietnam War, everybody was conscripted, man. They took people from Juilliard, from all schools, and conscripted them, Not all the people who were conscripted wanted to go, so those who knew how to get out of it got out of it, but those who were willing to go and do their time, I mean, we met, and this is the best of all worlds. We come together to play, and it was just playing one kind of music. I was playing drums in the marching band, and then they had me training on trombone. I was carried as a piano player in the band, but I didn't play piano, so I had to teach myself guitar to fill that particular occupation. And so I did. And so we get up in the morning. We never had to deal with weapons, but we did have to deal with our instruments, so that was our weapon of choice, your musical instrument. And we would be playing all day and all night, as many gigs as we could handle, till 2 in the morning, and then you're up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you're back on it, man. It's all day long. And then during the day, you get sent to other places for these weird assignments, and they're all musical. And then you go to the theater, they say, hey, we need a theater band. Come on, guys. We need a rock band. Who's going to do that? We need an R&B band. Who's going to do that? We just got a call for this kind of band. And we would do all these dates, all these gigs. And it was just fantastic. And we got paid for it. You get your military salary, plus whatever you were asking for from whatever clubs, whatever engagements you'd be getting, in the process. So it was the best. It was the best that I could ever say I could get out of any kind of military service. It was great, the best. It was sacred. In fact, and it's where my whole life turned around me. It's where I came full circle as to being a musician. As I realized I could do this. Because I was always playing, but I never thought I'd be able to play in this context, a big band. So, man, coming from Brooklyn, man, where I was at, man, the closest we got to a big band was 5, 6, 8 drummers chanting, screaming and being crazy. That was it. That was as big as it got. Yet when I was a ukulele player, I was in a quartet. When I was about 11 years old, around that age, 11, 12 years old, playing for, a social club circuit. So I had a band and we'd be playing for dance people, for people who were into dance. And so we did that. So I had a good experience as a child, always selfless. It was always just the right thing to do. It wasn't about ego, man. Just because that's what we did and we enjoyed playing. The band was a higher level of all of that, but that was a turning point for me. And I said, no, I have a responsibility now to music. I'm going to keep this going. And so I did, so it's great. Great.